Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is calling for an investigation into FEMA after alleged FEMA volunteers told the publication The Daily Wire they were instructed by the agency to skip Trump supporters' homes when serving damage in Highlands County after Hurricane Milton. According to internal text messages reviewed by the publication, workers in Lake Placid avoided around 20 homes, quote, advertising Trump. Governor DeSantis took to X, saying the Florida Division of Emergency Management would be investigating the incident, and the House Committee of Homeland Security also said it would be investigating.
And breaking tonight, Republican lawmakers now confirming a report that says after Hurricane Milton, a FEMA supervisor told disaster relief workers in Florida to avoid homes with Trump signs in their yards. FEMA says it believes the incident is isolated, and the supervisor who gave the anti-Trump order is no longer in that role.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about a story that should never happen in this country, but it is a story that we have to talk about because the people in charge of running the government are ideologically extreme to the point where they do not feel as if their fellow American citizens should receive the help that they need during a disaster because of their political beliefs. And this story involves FEMA, who's already come under a whole lot of criticism for giving away money to illegal immigrants, okay, when the American people needed the money the most, okay, following a couple of disastrous hurricanes that have affected mostly red states in this country. And a lot of people were asking questions about whether or not FEMA is under ideological influence, right? In the sense that they are discriminating against people based off politics. Okay, a whole lot of people had questions about why is it that FEMA seemed to have such a slow response to the disasters that happen in these red states. Now we're getting an inside look in regards to why FEMA seems to be politically driven or ideologically motivated when it comes to their disaster relief, because they are, right? You have the bureaucrats inside of this agency directing aides, the workers on the ground, to refuse to help Trump supporters who were affected by these disasters that have plagued the country over the past couple of months, okay? And the individual who made this directive has now been identified as Miss Mari Washington, okay? As you can see here, here is an alleged picture of her, okay? Should be no surprises in regards to what an individual who would make this type of directive would look like. There's also text messages that have been leaked showing that, hey, some of the best practices here is to avoid homes advertising Trump, okay? So don't help out Trump supporters. Now, this was a story that was broke by the Daily Wire, okay? And they did a good job of covering it. And now this woke supervisor has been removed from her role following this getting exposed to the public. Take a look.
Another issue that highlighted the incompetency of Joe Biden was hurricane relief and FEMA's reaction, right?
Yeah.
And you know, Joe Biden was in charge, but Kamala Harris was running, and there was there was an avoidance of wanting to talk about how significant the impact is on so many communities based on two hurricanes. Now, according to the Daily Wire, this is a staggering story. FEMA officials, so, you know, which should be helping everybody, directed hurricane relief workers in Florida to avoid certain homes that had Trump signs in their lawn. Okay, here's the report according to the Daily Wire. A FEMA supervisor told workers in a message to avoid homes advertising Trump as they canvassed Lake Placid, Florida, to identify residents who could qualify for federal aid. Internal messages viewed by the Daily Wire reveal. The supervisor, Marnie Washington, relayed this message both verbally and in group chat used by the relief team. Multiple government employees told the Daily Wire. So now hurricane relief also politicized.
Yeah, no question. And by the way, there was already outrage that so many FEMA funds had been raided to give to illegal immigrants. And so obviously people are saying we gotta take the politics out of something as essential as emergency relief. I mean, this is insane. And by the way, the FEMA spokesperson has a statement. FEMA helps all survivors, regardless of their political preference or affiliation. And we are deeply disturbed by this employee's actions. While we believe this is an isolated incident, We've taken measures to remove the employee from their role and are investigating the matter to prevent this from happening ever again. The employee who issued this guidance had no authority and was given no direction from anyone to tell teams to avoid these homes. And we are reaching out to the people who have not been reached as a result of this incident. Will, I mean, I'm surprised that, I mean, you see lots of agencies getting politicized. This is one you really wouldn't expect.
Well, it's not just, to me, it's my focus is less on FEMA and more, I would imagine this is the case in every government agency. And what it does is show the depth of the cancer inside of our government, and that you have to root out politicization at the highest levels, for example, of the DOJ. But you have to also understand there's a bureaucracy under every one of these state departments where you have, you know, foot soldiers who behave in the same manner as Merrick Garland. Right. And in order to really reform the bureaucracy, I actually think you are going to need, like Elon Musk walking through the lobbies of Washington, D.C. with a sink in his hands. He's going to have to sit there with the Department of Government Efficiency and cut it down to the size you could drown it in a bathtub. Otherwise, this is where we are now. Yeah, so you've seen that, you heard that. Now, FEMA claims that they were horrified by these revelations. However, I don't believe they were horrified about the revelations in and of themselves. They were horrified by the fact that it got exposed to the public, because there's no doubt in my mind that this is not the only woke ideologue within that agency that has probably done something discriminatory like this. Again, this is just the one that got caught, right? But again, this is a really, really, really bad story because it actually affected people, okay? People did not receive the help that they needed because of this woke supervisor directing FEMA agents not to help them. The FEMA agents were ordered not to help houses with Trump signs in Highlands County, a deep red area located in South Central Florida that was hit with tornadoes, torrential rain, and flooding when the Category 3 hurricane slammed into the Sunshine State in October. President-elect Trump won nearly 70% of the vote there on Tuesday. Yeah, another right-wing conspiracy turns out to be true. Right? Turns out to be true, which is that there is discrimination from FEMA against Trump supporters. We all knew this. We all kind of saw it happening. Okay, all of the reports out of North Carolina and some other parts of the country where it was like, why is it that these areas that are heavily pro-Trump, why are they not getting the help that they need? Well, it's because, again, you have the bureaucrats inside these organizations that are basically making sure they don't get the help. And one of the reasons I'm not buying into this explanation from FEMA claiming that they're horrified by this happening is because they haven't actually fired the individual. The individual apparently is still employed by FEMA. They're just not in that role, which shows that they really aren't horrified by it. Again, they're just horrified that they got caught, right? That's exactly what's happening here because Republicans are coming out and saying, no, it's not enough just to remove the individual from the role. No, she has to be fired. U.S. House Oversight Committee and Representative James Comer also took aim at the agency in particular for not firing the official. He said it comes despite the IRS trying to force whistleblower Gary Shapley out of that agency. Shapley, an IRS supervisory special agent, brought claims of political influence in the Hunter Biden investigation to Congress along with Joseph Ziegler, IRS criminal investigator. Quote, FEMA hasn't fired this person, but the IRS has been trying to fire IRS whistleblower Gary Shapley out for blowing the whistle. We must hold these unelected bureaucrats accountable, Comer wrote on X. Quote, FEMA admits this happened, but doesn't say if the bureaucrat responsible has been fired. The House Oversight Committee wrote on X, Democrats relentlessly defend the rules that insulate unelected bureaucrats from accountability and make it impossible to fire bad employees. This is why we need President Trump's reforms to make bureaucrats accountable. Yeah, so Trump Jr. has come out and blasted the agency over this as well too. He says, quote, this is outrageous even for Democrats in charge and should be criminal. Trump Jr. wrote on X, these people should be ousted from FEMA, government, and society. A full investigation is in order. Yeah. I don't think it's enough just to fire that individual. That individual also should face criminal charges and be thrown in prison for a long time for doing this. Okay? Anything short of that is a failure.
Okay, we have to hold these people accountable. We have to let them know that this is unacceptable. You cannot discriminate against people based off political ideology. Okay, and this woman discriminated in the worst way possible. I mean, you talk about people who are struggling to recover from a natural disaster, and they said, no, don't help them out. They support somebody that I don't like, so therefore they don't deserve the help. Again, this is very anti-American, but I'm glad that stories like this are now coming out because it really shows you all the work that the Trump administration has to do. And this is why I'm so excited about the Trump administration having Elon Musk on board to cut the fat from the bureaucracy, okay? Because let's be real, the people who actually run the government are the people that are unelected, the people that are doing the day-to-day jobs, that are making the decisions on the ground that affect people, okay? And if those people aren't being held accountable, like elected officials get held accountable, they get held accountable through voting, right? But nobody voted for these individuals, and these individuals, again, are the ones that are calling the shots, right? So, again, it's a big problem, and this is why we need mass firings, okay? We need mass firings the same way that Elon Musk came into Twitter, right, and decided to fire everybody. That has to happen at the federal government, okay? It has to happen. And I know that a lot of people are not going to like it, okay? But, hey, I'm just saying, maybe these bureaucrats, they're the ones that can, I don't know, pick the cotton and to do all the jobs that the illegal immigrants are doing right now because apparently the left is so concerned about, well, who's going to do all these jobs if we get rid of the illegals? Easy. We just get the federal bureaucrats to do it, right? We get people like Mari Washington, right? We get her out there and she can pick the cotton, okay? She can do the jobs that the illegals were doing after they get mass deported back to their countries, okay? It's really that simple, right? I'm so serious right now. I know a lot of people don't like it, but these federal employees, a lot of them need to be fired, right? They got to go, okay? You got to find another career, okay? The federal government was never meant to be this big. It is way too big. And I also think that a lot of these federal agencies need to be abolished or moved out of Washington, D.C. because being in that D.C. bubble also plays a role in political ideology and radicalization, right? So if you move a lot of these agencies out of DC, move them to red states, okay, states that are less ideologically extreme, you're going to have employees that are less ideologically extreme, right? So that also helps solve the problem as well too. But the first thing that has to happen is there just has to be firings from the top down, get rid of a lot of these people, downsize the government, and you will get rid of a lot of this corruption and you can actually hold people accountable when it comes to stuff like this. So, you know, I'm glad this story has come out. It really shows you the disaster that has been the Biden administration, that these people are, in fact, so ideologically extreme that they are discriminating against their fellow Americans. Again, this is a very anti-American thing to do. And this woman shouldn't just be fired. She should be charged and thrown in prison. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.